Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. How's it going, Joe?
Doing good.
How's your jet lag?
I'm pretty tired, but
I imagine. Apologies
yeah,
to everyone. I've got a cough, so I'll probably be sucking on cough drops a bit to try to not cough into the microphone, but mostly whole these days.
yeah. So you're sick. I'm jet lagged. This will be a great show. Finishing out on a great note here.
I mean, we got
So,
to maintain the Wayne's World vibes to the end, right?
well, that's kind of how we
Old
started it,
references.
right? I mean, it was I think very much you and I recording conversations that we'd have anyway,
Right.
right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Walk us through, kind of the early days. Like what was it like for you to do a podcast? Because I think you're a bit more the reclusive end of
Well,
the
remember,
duo.
I think the first one we did, refresh my memory here, but I think the first one we did, I was in New Jersey and you were in Utah. And so we like remotely recorded it. It wasn't live. And then like one of my nieces ran through the shot or something like, we got to re-record this.
Oh, that's funny. I don't think I remember that, but I think I do remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah. And then later on, I like recorded from Oregon at one point, and it was usually just us, and it was talking about who knows what at the time. We'd have to go back to the early days and see
Well, I mean, our
what we're
conversations though,
talking
right?
about.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, for the audience out there, and thanks to good to see everybody showing up here. The old um, let me see here. We got a lot of people. Too many to name. So,
Yeah. Thanks
anyway,
everyone for coming
yeah,
today.
thanks. Yeah. And that's Lana over there. That's my dog. So she's pretty cool. So anyway, yeah, I think when we started, we'd often go on walks. I think this was during COVID, so we wanted a chance to get outside. But I mean, the types of conversations we ended up recording, these are the things we talk about basically for years before, because we were running. So we ran it. We have company Ternary Data, which we'll probably talk about in a bit. So that was their data engineering, data architecture consulting firm. It was Matt and me for a long time, and um, yeah. So I mean, but I think really rewinding. I met Matt. What was it? 2017, I
I
believe,
think
through a
that's
mutual
right.
friend.
Yeah.
Hit it off. Like we realized we were kind of the yin and yang of personality wise. I don't think we could pick two opposite personalities, but we nerded out. I think found a really kindred connection with technology and data specifically. So we'd go have just I would say sort of endless conversations that would last for hours about Lord knows even what topics. A lot of them, I think. So
And it was an interesting time in the industry. I mean, it's been an interesting time for the last several years. Things have changed really fast, and there have been a lot of big shifts. But like when I got really into the data side of things, as opposed to the data science side of things, so like data engineering, data processing, it was just when the shift from Hadoop to cloud was happening. And so that's where I started to think, okay, like this is actually a good place to be in consulting because all these companies want to migrate their data systems to the cloud. They want to rethink these systems in a more scalable fashion, but they don't have the resources to do so. And so that's the kind of stuff we talked about and we talked about on the show. And that's kind of what the foundation of the company and the book was.
yeah, well, it's yeah. And I mean, I think we found a connection in that. I think that you had sort of a disdain for the kind of the legacy big data era and tooling. I think from the perspective that there was a lot of ceremony and frankly a lot of bullshit with that, and so I think you felt like you uh, I don't know, found religion in some ways, and it's like it's good to meet a guy who's found religion or Satanism.
Yeah, something like that.
So
Well, I think at the time, part of the problem was that the promise, well, there are two main promises of Hadoop specifically. So one was that you could process data at amazing scale, and the second was that it was supposed to be cheap. And we found in practice that the companies struggled so much with basic data quality issues or use case issues that like they weren't processing that much data or they weren't really using it for anything. And then we also found that it turned out to be very, very expensive because the cluster was cheap, but like the people to maintain it would cost a lot of money. And it was just like
hmm
constant, babysitting and monkeying with things to keep the system running.
right, a lot of heroics and all this stuff. Yeah, and I think there was and it was interesting. So we were in Salt Lake when we started, and it really felt like our focus was, I think, a bit provincial in that sense. Cloud, I think, was just becoming popular in the data circles. So some context, been in Salt Lake for a while, doing data, ran some meetups, co-founded a few, say very popular meetups in the area. SLC Python was what 2013, and then data engineering meetup. I think it was 2017 or 2018, but
2017, yeah. Or
yeah,
maybe it was early 2018. That's possible, yeah.
I can't remember. But in either case, right? So they think that so it's interesting seeing, and maybe for the audience there, you can see like your uh um maybe your locale had certain trends and whatnot, but cloud, I would say, especially with data, like it was just starting to take off around maybe 2015, but I'd say 2017, 2018 in earnest is when it really started becoming a thing around here. And there's still a lot of on-prem installations and stuff, but
Yeah, I mean, things like Redshift and BigQuery went back further, but that was like the time when adoption was just really exploding. And the other thing was the cloud had been around for.
Can you let her out? Sorry, she's
okay.
My dog, she likes to hit the spring on the door as a signal to open, or she just opens doors. She's pretty smart, but
she's scary smart. Like, watch out. Keep your doors locked at all times.
Yeah, she might take over the podcast. Who knows?
Yeah, that's possible. But anyway, cloud had been around since the early 2000s in various incarnations, like early features of AWS, early services and such. But also around that time was when a lot of companies were looking, like major enterprises, not just startups, were looking to make that jump. And so that tied in very much to the stuff we were doing, because often you were going to migrate your data systems and your website and your application databases kind of all at the same time, potentially over years. But like you'd kick that process off together.
Sure. I think we'd seen the it's Chris Tabb's nice mug. It's a Chris Tabb mug. My son made. I'm gonna sell these at some point. The proceeds will go to some proceeds will go to Chris Tabb, I suppose, and maybe I'm just kidding. So yeah, that's kind of segueing, and so we're kind of going through a retrospective of how we got to the show and how we met. So if this is exciting to you, great. If not, and come back later. So yeah, it was interesting. Then we started Turner, I think, as a result of kind of understanding that we had, I think, kindred feelings about the cloud and modernization and data, and I think that we did Ternary, right? So we originally it was interesting. I mean, we originally wanted to partner with AWS, which we did, but then made some other partnerships along the way. I think we helped Google Cloud in the early days here get off the ground. They helped us get off the ground too. So that was kind of cool. And I think for people that want to start consulting companies, consider ways you can leverage, your partners out there too, and find, ways that, you can leverage each other's strengths, right? We had the ins and a lot of companies they wanted to get into, a lot of people. Obviously, we try to do it in a tasteful way. We're not just there to, aimlessly shill, but at the same time, we could leverage their sales team to help get us into doors as well. So I'd say if you're looking to do that, figure out those paths that work really well for us, I would say. And then kind of fast forward, and the model we took was interesting too, because I felt like we did a couple peer service engagements, like hands-on keyboard originally, but I think we realized that we just had a glorified job with no benefits. So we took it. Maybe explain the approach that we took that was maybe different than other consultancies do.
Let's see. I mean, we kind of shifted pretty quickly to do more of a training-oriented approach, and then architecture. It's like you overestimate other people's familiarity with things you're familiar with. We realize like these companies had heard of the cloud, but I'm like, we have no idea how to do this. Like, what are even the considerations for doing a deployment? And like, can I move my entire, Teradata in 2 months? The answer is no. You can't do that. You have to kind of rethink everything. And, road mapping, training the team, showing them what services to use, generally steering them away from doing too much bespoke work, because it's like, if you have a reason to do something bespoke, great, but you probably don't. Like, most of these problems have been solved before. Use something off the shelf and get it up and running, and then focus on the stuff that's really unique to your company where you need to.
Oh yeah, and the training approach we took was interesting. Matt and I, we'll get into why this might be and why we wrote a book, but it turns out we're actually pretty good at teaching people. This is an us thing that, you used to actually be a professor. So
I was for a long time. Yeah, I did that for about a decade between grad school and postdoc and adjuncting and such.
Yeah, exactly. And I done some as well. So it was interesting. I felt like the approach that we took was sort of this jujitsu move too, because if you're doing hands-on keyboard work, a lot of times, the team that you're working with, at the client's team, may or may not like you, right? I think there's some built-in animosity in some ways, or built-in skepticism. Like, well, this person seems like a higher paid, less informed, probably crappier version of me. right? So we're like, well, why don't we just teach you how to do these things, instead of like doing your job. And I think that definitely helped a lot in terms of just allying us with other data teams and practitioners more. And that sort of evolved us into, I think doing some instructional videos, which we dabbled in a bit. Then we did the podcast, and that was helpful because then we could, I think, that the podcast was very instrumental. So that started with the Monday morning data chat. That must have been, I think, I looked at our earliest recording that was published to YouTube, and it must have been August 2020, I think.
It sounds about right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
So everyone had a COVID project back then, right? So like, I think some people gardened and baked bread,
Baked bread, yeah.
and we decided to, do that. And along the way, the podcast, I guess, got pretty popular. It was just originally Matt and me talking about, I don't know, just random stuff. Again, the stuff we just have conversations about, right? So, and this was also during the, I think, kind of peak. It was almost peak modern data stack as well. So I think we had a lot of rants on that. How it's great, how it also kind of was, I think, a bit inflated. So.
Yeah, because recall from my perspective, the modern data stack really got kicked off by the Snowflake IPO. So Snowflake IPO was September 2020 and biggest tech IPO of all time, as far as I know. And of course, venture capitalists at first were worried about, is there going to be enough money? Well, there was a lot of money flowing around during COVID. Understandably, people were struggling in various ways. And venture capitalists figured out how to leverage that money. And they decided, well, if this is the biggest IPO of all time, how do we get into the game? And that was basically the modern data stack, is the modern data stack still.
Yeah, it was. It's interesting. You fast forward to today. The Snowflake IPO, I think, had a lot of built-in expectations in terms of, like, they even said it too in the IPO, like, we have to hit this growth rate and these projections, and obviously they haven't been able to meet that. And so they, whoever invested, you can almost completely underwater at this point. Even if you did the IPO, even I think at 120 per share, I believe it was. You're ain't doing well. But I think that more speaks to just the difficulty of hyperscaling a data business too, and we can talk more about that. But you're right, that was sort of the watershed moment, and suddenly, lots of money in data all of a sudden, right? Lots of tools, tooling company, not tools, like people. Also lots of those too, probably. But and so we started giving we started getting guests on, I guess, right? Like originally it was just like friends. And
Yeah. And then at one point, like Jordan Tagani came on, and I think at that point Mother Duck had been founded, but it was like brand new, and so I explained the whole concept. He was actually in a hotel room at the time.
Yeah, he was
doing this podcast episode, right? But it was like right after the Mother Duck concept came around. But it's just interesting to watch the trajectory of that company, because it's very much an idea whose time has come, and he could see it in advance because he actually helped to build BigQuery, and so he knew how these cloud data products work. And I think I think as he saw the modern data stack, and his co-founders like, oh, well, this is what we should do from here to this is the next thing after the modern data stack, well before it had really, I wouldn't say ended, but the hype cycle had wound down a bit.
Yeah, for sure. He was a good guest, still is a good guest, good dude. And then we had like a lot of other guests showed up, which is kind of cool.
Chris Tab is here, right?
He's in the chat
commenting
somewhere
on your cup. Yeah, that was a funny one, right? That wasn't actually Monday morning data chat first, was it?
No, that was on Ben. I can't remember. So I had like this data show, a separate one. I have these like rogue ones out there, but it was kind of funny. Like he Chris was trolling me and stuff. I wonder if he can join. Actually, let me see. Maybe I'll send out a invite to people. But it was he was trolling me and then it was like, cool, you want to join show, and they ended up becoming good friends, right? But it was funny. So yeah, but you had a lot of experiences like that. I would say were a lot of the people that we're talking to on LinkedIn right now, people in the chat, which I'm seeing on my phone right now. I don't have it on the monitor here, unfortunately, but there's a lot of friends, a lot of people that we met. I would say that without the podcast, like a lot of things wouldn't have happened. Yeah. Like I don't think we would have met all the cool people that are commenting here. We wouldn't have had the book, which we can talk about, and obviously wouldn't be at a point where we can pursue other options
Exactly.
apart from ternary.
And I think that's the important thing, is that with this particular show we're not doing, but I mean, you have things and I have things, and we'll continue to present together in various venues.
Yeah, I'll get into that in a second here. Like, it is interesting. Like, the podcast gave us, I think, and a lot of people did podcasts. Like, I'm looking at one, Cicada. He did catalogs and cocktails at the time, right? And then we had a lot of amazing guests. I don't want to offend anybody, so I'm not going to name names, too many names, right? Notably, like, Bill Inman was a regular guest, and that was cool because he was like, sort of the godfather, in my opinion, and that was cool. Obviously, lots of other people too. Fine, I'll name some names. Like everyone here: Sonny, Juan, Scott Taylor, Bart. Never got Pete Fishman. I'll have to get him on a different one. And a lot of people like that, right? Jess Abrams even been on. A lot of awesome people who I don't think, in Colleen, I don't think we would. Colleen's wondering if we're going to burn down the data world in the last show. Well, we might get there. But we're reminiscing right now. Then we'll turn violent. So
I have no intention of turning violent.
But I'm fine.
Okay,
I'm pretty jet lagged.
I mean, you're wearing the shirt for it, I guess.
The Terminator. But so, I mean, a lot of great guests, and I think that helped. I think the conversations we had was sort of a masterclass in terms of getting to know, the players behind a lot of things in the industry, and also I think understanding, of getting previews into stuff that was coming up in the industry, right? And that, I think, if you wanted to get a really good perspective of what's happening, I'm talking to the audience here. Matt already knows this. I would say do a podcast, but it's also really hard work. But you also get a chance to talk to luminaries and people with a ton of vision and or pushing the industry forward, right? So I think that's the benefit of it. But yeah. So
it's just a chance to have a lot of conversations that you wouldn't otherwise have. I mean, you can try to just get on calls with all these cool people, but people don't have time unless there's something.
Well, the podcast has a mutual benefit too, where
exactly.
they get something out of it. They get a good conversation, hopefully some exposure. If the audience likes the podcast, and really, the main arbiter is always the audience, right? So, on that note too, I think one of the things that made this podcast a bit different was, we never had any commercial interest in this podcast. It's not like we went out and tried to leverage it into, sponsorships or, any of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't think we ever did an ad read, like, for Manscaped or anything.
Is that, I mean, maybe you should be doing that now on one of your shows.
Well, I think I'm going to. Well, I think I might do like really different ads and not data ones. If I'm going to do it, I'll take advertising from
Well, that's the problem, right? Like, if you take product ads, then inevitably it sort of bleeds into your editorial content. Like, you can try to maintain a firewall, but especially where you don't have a separate team doing ads, which you have to be really big to do that. Your ad people buying ads say, well, we don't really want you. I mean, people try to coerce us now into saying or not saying things, even though they don't
all the time, dude.
And if they're paying you, then they definitely have some leverage over you, unfortunately.
And that's a big reason why we never took money. I mean, Lord knows we had enough opportunities to, like, I would say it's probably one of the most respected data shows in the world. And with that respect, though, comes, I think, great responsibility to make sure that we're respecting our audience, right? And so the way you do that is don't shill. I think it has always been about providing, I think, a really good conversation for the audience first, and not, letting sponsors or companies dictate what we can say. I mean, the funniest example of this is when Bill Inman was on our show, trash talking Snowflake live on the show. Well, he wasn't trash talking it though. I mean, it was just. It wasn't about an article he had, Snowflake, a critique, where he said that they were basically calling themselves a data warehouse. They'd since moved on from that verbiage. They called themselves a data cloud. Now it's a data and AI cloud. But the whole point was Bill was, it's being Bill, right? he speaks his mind. And I think there's a lot that's pretty awesome. And then all of a sudden a bunch of people from Snowflake hopped onto the live comments. I think one of their heads of marketing was saying, you need to rein him in. And I'm like, dude, we're not reining anybody in.
Bill does not care.
Yeah, we're not reining in Bill.
We're not hanging up on him.
This isn't our job. Like, and that person later apologized for that, in a call after. But I thought that was interesting that, because I was like, they don't even watch the show. I was like, okay, I guess I watch the show. But I think that's the moment I realized, okay, so like there's actually there's more to the show, and we had to protect this at all costs, versus I think leveraging that platform into a money making machine. I think there's other ways we can make money, which we'll get into in a bit. But I think for us, it was about maintaining the editorial integrity and quality of the show and being able to, I think, run our mouths, really.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, that's the ultimate privilege, is to be able to run your mouth.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said for that, though. Yeah. I mean, I mean, I do it more than you, I think, but
that's possible.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things where I felt like, and this just, I think, goes to the ethos of the show. It's just, was always about, providing, I think, good quality content for you all, right? You all listening and watching this. Oh man, we have actually Chris here real quick. Might send out an invite to some other friends if you want to join. But
hey guys, I'm good. First of all, what you've done in this show over the years, kudos to you. I know how hard it is to do these things now, and I'm still learning as well. So you've perfected it, and yeah, cool. And also it's been fun. I've enjoyed these gate crashes. I'm having flashbacks to when this first happened. I had more hair then. Not much.
On your beard?
More hair. Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, but well done, guys. Well done.
Thank you.
It's good to see you, man. It's funny because I think we met just like we were talking about, just almost as an inadvertent troll. I think earlier that week I was on let's posted something in Greg's Keogh's post, a comment, and then you were like, "Who's this wanker?" Then it was like it was the afternoon on Friday, and I was like, it was me and Ben Rogajan, and I met a private. You were in the comment section of the post, and I was just like, I looked at where you were though. I was like, it's UK and it's night. This guy's got to be drunk. This is gonna be hilarious.
It was COVID Friday nights. You started drinking about 3 PM on a Friday, and then you just hoped it lasts through the night. But yeah, no, it was great. I think the topic, data engineering, which was like no one had like unpacked it and really like provided a clear definition of what it was. And then Greg's post had all of these skills, that only a unicorn would actually have, like all the abilities that he requested. And I think I put a comment on there and said, look, what are the key skills you think, Joe? And then I think you're a bit obtuse. I thought, right, that's it. I'm gonna ask you. Opportunity comes up, I'll ask you some questions. And I actually watched the show not that long ago. But a bit of a wince as well. I think, oh my god. But I think the topics and being able to unpack really what data engineering was, from those podcasts to your book, you've helped demystify it and probably create loads of data engineers. Some of them good.
Well, we'll see. Awesome. Well, we're going to boot you off now. So
no worries. I've got to go do 1.5 hours anyway. Thanks, guys. Well done. Yeah,
down memory lane. Yeah. So yeah, it's so then we did a book. Chris is actually one of the tech reviewers for it.
Yeah.
Why did we do a book? Why did we do a book?
I mean, I think we have slightly different takes on this, but my take was that in 2015, there was a career called big data engineer, and a big data engineer would work with Hadoop. And then all of a sudden, like, again, Redshift and BigQuery had been around for a couple of years by then, but those tools really started to take off. And people started saying, well, why, for the workload we have, why do we need Hadoop? And that's where that title of big data engineer basically evolved into something called data engineer. And of course, none of this was brand new. It was an evolution of a lot of other tools and professional skills that had been around over the years. But basically, we had the opportunity to kind of just survey the field and then like summarize the current state of that profession that had evolved out of the older skill, which is someone who typically works in the cloud now and can manage large volumes of data and pipelines to support other use cases. That was the fundamental idea. So we wrote this book to describe that and explain, not just how to write code and use a tool, but how to actually think about the profession from a business perspective. Like, what is your
first
purpose?
Principles too? Yeah, because and I think it was geared towards data scientists, software engineers, and big data engineers, and so forth, right? Because I think the common question we'd always get is, and I see this online as well, but how do I learn data engineering? And if you looked at the resources there, a lot of them were pretty terrible. It was like, you need to learn Pig and Spark and Hadoop and all this stuff. It's like, that doesn't teach you. That's not data engineering. That's like, those are tools, and that's certainly great, but that's not the same as teaching somebody a field for first principles. And the other one I would always see was like, well, you need to go read Martin Kleppman's Designing Data Intensive Applications. Terrific book, but I think it was too deep for a lot of people. I think if you're starting out, like, that's not the book I'd recommend. It's a bit it throws you off the deep end pretty quick. And the other one would be Kimball's Data Warehouse Toolkit, which, albeit is a terrific book, it stood the test of time. But to me, that's more of a reference manual for data modeling. Again, none of these things teach you data engineering from first principles. And I think that was one of the goals we had. We also needed a COVID project, so I think we're getting really bored. So
it's funny how you can be working yourself half to death and yet also getting bored, if that makes any sense at all. It's like, oh, I want something to do with my brain besides like staring at people's code and training all day. So.
Yeah, no, it was. And I remember, Jess Haberman from O'Reilly, when we first talked to her, she actually, in the gentlest way that Jess is capable of doing, she kind of just tried to dissuade us from doing this book. She said it was just ambitious for two first-time authors to try and tackle this, this field, from first principles. And I don't blame her for saying that. I think we were, intimidated by this, but we didn't want to write another book, and so this is one we wrote. And so it took like a year and a half ish.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, exactly. But we got published in, what was it, July 2022?
Yep. Yeah, in July 22nd of 2022. Yeah. And I think that changed everything, really. We've had plenty of discussions on how to publish a book and so forth. But that did change a lot of stuff for us. Because shortly after that, we went and spoke at Mac Turk's Data Driven NYC, which I think is like, that's an honor to be invited to go.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a great experience.
We got a.
Hey guys, how are you? Just catching up on.
Thank you for chilling, Scott. We appreciate it.
Really, I'm gonna miss you on Valentine's Day, which I keep commenting.
Well, we might. We'll figure something out for Valentine's Day. I think
that would be wonderful. I literally have a call in 2 minutes, so I should just send.
No worries. Just wanted to bring you on and just say hi real quick. I think it's good to see you, and thanks for being a regular part of the cast.
I think I'm a regular part of the entourage. Yeah. I love it. And I never got a chance to thank you both for thanking me twice in your book.
I better put it in errata
3 times if you want to use this. There's a Scott and a Taylor there.
But it still hasn't been changed. We'll just leave it. That's a pretty funny story.
Yeah, I like it's my favorite page in the book. So
that's so hilarious.
Please don't change it.
No idea.
Entity resolution is important, but not in the acknowledgments.
That's really the entire book. It just says Scott Taylor the whole time. So
me, I have such a healthy ego, but really, it's about you today, guys. It's a great show. Yeah, we're going to miss you on a weekly basis, and your non-shill, no bullshit attitude is refreshing.
Likewise. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. All right. I'll see you on the flip side, buddy.
All right.
I know you got to get to your call. Bye-bye. Yeah, so that's awesome. Yeah, Scott's awesome. I love that guy. One of the the industry has characters.
Yeah,
he's one of them. Like, just one of the cool.
My question is he a human or is he a puppet? I haven't decided.
He's a Muppet.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's pretty dope. Keep talking real quick. I'm just texting people.
Okay. Let's see. What else are we talking about?
So the book, right? We did the book, and then I think that opened up a lot of opportunities. I think that's, if you fast forward to today, like, if we hadn't written the book, I think we still would be just doing consulting full time. But maybe we can talk about that real quick. So I think a lot of questions I'm getting right now is, are you guys still doing ternary?
Yeah, not going forward. I mean, we might still collaborate on stuff, but we're keeping that together at this point. So,
yeah. I think we have other things that we have in the pipeline right now. Like, I'm starting a new company, which I'll unveil early next year. I think at a certain point, we just, consulting is just one of those things where, I don't know, like, I think we're just ready to move on.
Yeah, it's fine to do once in a while. It's not I do it occasionally, but it's not a full-time thing anymore. I've got various other projects going on. So it's always more complicated than you think it's going to be. It can be fun, especially if they actually implement some of your suggestions, but that doesn't always happen. You
Yeah, it's life though, isn't it?
For frustration and sometimes occasional triumph. Right?
Yeah, but I think that's just par for the course in any type of consulting engagement. I don't think it's, but I mean, it is interesting because we have no shortage of inbound inquiries these days. I mean, we get inquiries very frequently, but at this point, I would say we're just if you're looking for us to consult with you, I guess maybe contact one of us separately. But ternary data as an ongoing concern will be no more by the end of the year. I think we're just both very eagerly awaiting our and working on our next moves right now. It's just but the book afforded us that. If we hadn't done the book, it would have I think we'd still be doing ternary and consulting and all that fun stuff. Speaking of fun, by the way, we have a really fun guy, Juan Cicada. What's up, dude?
Sorry.
How's it going? Nice book.
Before we jump in, I texted this to Joey the other day. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see. It says right there.
Yeah,
I won't be writing. Never write a book again. Never say never.
Yeah, I'm a liar. Just it's the worst family man possible. I'm writing a new book right now. So, and this one is actually harder than Fundamentals of Data Engineering, which I think was a very difficult book to write. But yeah, dude, it's been super fun, like having you on the show and and being on your podcast as well.
Well, I just want to say, I mean, it's I do not join live a lot. This is always busy times during the day, but you guys have really just made such a gigantic impression into the entire data world, and I really hope that this time that happened, like right before COVID and the whole COVID and everything that's happened with the modern data stack, history will be written about this, and you guys will have a gigantic stamp on that. So you've really changed the lives of so many people, and I included. So thank you so much for everything you've done, and I know I'm speaking to everybody in the community. Like it's just pretty ridiculously awesome. So thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah. And well, you get to carry on the tradition in some form. I know Catalogs and Cocktails is an insanely popular podcast, so it's good. I think you carry a very similar tone where it's just no BS, all honest, no BS. Honest, no BS. That's the way.
We represent a vendor, but we never talk about the vendor. It continues to be non-salesy, and I think that's what the audience is craving. I think the community just wants freaking no bullshit and non-salesy stuff. So let's continue with that.
We'll all do it, and I'd say stay tuned for what's next with us. But there's you're carrying that same tradition too, which is why I really you're like a brother now. So it's good.
Thanks, man. Yeah, love bumping into you in different parts of the world, and hopefully we continue doing that.
Cool.
So you guys see you Thursday here in Austin.
Oh yeah, that's right. I am sure.
Oh yeah, do you still have a ticket? Like,
yeah, I'll be in Austin, so I'll see you there.
See you in a couple of days. Okay. Cool.
All right, bye. See you on. Bye. See you.
Talk to you soon.
So I think that's one's dope. I love that guy. Just saw him in Australia last month. Walking around Sydney and giving a talk at Data Eng Bytes. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Let me see who else. Keep talking real quick. Just do a puppet show or something.
A puppet show. I didn't bring any puppets, unfortunately. So
oh.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting time in the data world. I think we're seeing, from my perspective, we're seeing another big evolution now. I mean, obviously there's the whole Gen AI thing, and it's kind of funny to observe the current moment because on the one hand, a lot of these tools are starting to work their way into real products, like Apple Intelligence, for example. Which
I started using that. But I don't like it at all.
Oh, actually. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
that's an interesting.
Because in the update too, it stopped collecting my emails for some reason. But I don't know, it's dumb. But yeah, it just summarizes everything, which is great. But like the emails I always send or get are usually really short.
Yeah, exactly. They're quick and to the point, and like. I don't know. Can you trust the summarization enough to actually rely on it for anything?
I'm sure it'll get better. The thing I'd actually want is, assuming it works, is to set up workflows within the iPhone. Which they actually have a way to do that now, but it's pretty crude. And anyway, that's Apple Intelligence. If you have an iPhone update, if you don't, I think Android already has it anyway. So
yeah, but I guess my point is that these tools are starting to be deployed into real products, not just like toy products. At the same time, it feels like we're heading a bit into the trough of disillusionment with this technology. And I think
with AI,
yeah, to some extent, right? It's like we're at this interesting branch or something where we have to decide what exactly. But I think part of that is that there will be a shift back to more fundamental data engineering skills. I mean, for a variety of reasons. First of all, we're running out of training data. Second, there are a lot of issues with things like hate speech and misinformation that we're trying to deal with that so far the industry has not dealt with at all. And third, the cost of these Gen AI tools is so high that I think we're going to be going back to some more traditional approaches and kind of fusing those with modern approaches.
Let's see what Colleen Torteau thinks. Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for
Everyone else is doing it, so I felt like I needed to do it too. But I also want to read what Joe wrote because it was hilarious.
What did I write you?
Colleen, reach for the stars. See what I did there? And then you wrote, P.S. I'm a Pisces.
I wrote that. That's pretty funny. Reach for the stars part's funny because what's your background?
Astrophysicist, and Matt and I went to grad school together.
And you probably looked at
we overlapped.
Yeah, you overlapped at grad school, which is funny. And I figured, reach for the stars is really something that an astrophysicist is like, wow, that really speaks to me, idiot.
You guys are hilarious.
Well, thank you.
I had to go get this off my bookshelf where I have like my whole O'Reilly section, but it's nice being here.
You have an O'Reilly section? That's pretty cool. What have you been up to?
AI, building an AI platform.
So what do you think about what Matt said? AI is just, what do you think about AI?
Well, I think it's going into real tools, but we're also feeling a bit maybe of the trough of disillusionment at the same time, which is kind of an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong about that. I think that we'll get through it. I do. I think there's a lot of creativity that people are starting to exercise that muscle right now, right? Because like you've got the model builders and then you've got everyone who's like, ooh, we need to do AI. And then it's like, well, what does that mean, right? Like we can all do chat bots, but like, and we're having fun with ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever you're using. But I think there's just like so much more we can do with it. And we're not even scratching the surface.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think we'll have good stuff and maybe duds. That's just how technology goes, right? Like Matt mentioned Apple Intelligence. I'm using it on my the latest update. I'm like, I don't really have a use for this. It's
well, it's funny because my kid was asking Alexa something last night, and Alexa was like not getting it, and the two of them were like starting to get irritated with each other. But I was thinking, like, how funny would it be if Alexa could get irritated with him and be like, Nicholas, you are just not asking the right questions. So maybe we'll get there.
I hope so. I want snarky responses,
right? But I like attitude for my AI. Yeah, it's too polite.
The Joe Reis spot.
Just unhinged at a certain, just will snap at you and make you cry.
Like, Joe, do the work yourself.
Actually, that shouldn't exist. That's like Skynet. You don't want that. So thanks for obviously supporting the show along the throughout the years and just being a good friend too. So
you guys are awesome, and I'm gonna miss this. I'm on another meeting right now. That's always a Monday at 11 meeting. And so I'm always like double dipping, like watching with captions up, but I dropped out to come on. So
thanks. Well, we'll get back to your meeting free. You get in trouble.
Thanks, guys. This has been great.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye. Cool. So we'll cause people to lose their jobs today. It's great. I'm kidding.
That's right. Well, turning over a new leaf, I guess.
Yeah. You can
new opportunities for all of us.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Let me see who else can we but yeah, so I think the AI is obviously the story right now. And what do you think is the next story going into 2025 and 2026?
So I think there are several things. I think part of it is that so far we're trying to use AI to do things that we already know how to do, but better. And in general, if you look at really successful technologies, what happens eventually is that we find entirely new use cases that no one's thought of. And that's where the technology becomes really, really successful.
Yeah.
So the iPhone, when it first came out, it's like, okay, it's a phone and it's got a cool touch screen. And oh, by the way, you can use it as an iPod, which no one even talks about iPods anymore. And then eventually they came out with the App Store, and then it's like, oh, you can use it to like check in with Square, for example. And all these like crazy apps came out. Uber, just so many different applications that no one had really thought of. And I think maybe that's the next thing for like, what exactly does this look like and how is it actually useful? I think that will take some time to sort out. And I think on the data side of the house, right now, the focus is just like shovel as much data as possible into these models. And I think, first of all, we'll start doing a lot more with filtering, preparing data than we're doing right now. And second, I think for many applications, it will turn out still to be much more economical to use more classical statistical NLP methods to analyze data. And a lot of companies are already starting to do that.
Yeah.
Because the cost of, if you look at the numbers, what it costs to run a query on one of these models, it is not cheap. And that will come down. But I think classical NLP will always be cheaper for certain applications. So that's where we're going to start hybridizing more.
You can run it on a CPU.
Yeah, you can run it on a CPU.
That was the talk we had with Paco the other week, right? Where he had that, I think he showed us one of the papers. I don't know how this guy finds the time to read all these papers. It's insane. Yeah, the guy's just like a walking encyclopedia. But it was interesting, like the that paper talked about, just we sort of were maybe hitting the limits. And also I think the questions of scaling are valid. Like, do we really need to scale this high on like everything? To the point where we're using a lot of energy to do all this, or are there simpler ways to do it? Like this Mac Studio that I have here, it's got 30 cores on it. I mean, that's sufficient for a lot of stuff. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll talk more about prognostications, but we have Jason Taylor, JT. What's up,
Jason?
Hi.
How's it going?
Jesus, hi. Thanks for the plug.
I saw everybody was holding their book up, so I was like, okay, let me go.
Actually, there's a spot in the book for you for the acknowledgments. We've seen to cross out that extra Scott Taylor and put Jason on there.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we'll do in the next edition. We'll go update it right now.
You can also cross out Harley and Jepson too, and just put my name for all of them. That'd be totally okay. No offense to any of them that are watching right now. And two things. One, I also dropped out of a meeting to come jump over and listen and watch because this is the last meeting. Obviously, I wanted to be here. And the other thing, Matt, just because you were just talking about the iPod. So in college, I actually worked at one of the Apple stores.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we talked about this a lot, but especially in today's day and age, I think the importance of UX is so wildly understated. And I think that even just the chat mechanism today has been so crazy. So I definitely remember we had a very funny conversation when the iPad first came out, and there were iPod touches before this. So the iPads came out and we're like, there's just a big iPod touch. Like who wants this? And then you touch it and you're like, oh, now I get it. But it took physically touching the actual device to understand that. Yeah. Also, shout out to anybody else who ran the marathon yesterday. I'm in a lot of pain.
Oh boy.
So that was a lot of fun.
Which marathon?
New York City was yesterday.
Okay.
I'm wearing this thing. I never wear them ever, but I
congrats. I was wondering what that was. If you like just blinged out, but you earned that. That's
I'm like Flavor Flav. I'm just gonna like spin my clock here kind of deal.
Well, you can be like some UFC fighters who I knew. They would walk around with their title belts to like Chili's and stuff.
And of course, they were going to Chili's.
No, they would. Yeah. I mean, I'm not kidding. It was Tim Sylvia. He was a heavyweight champion, and he would like literally wear his belt to like Applebee's or something. He could pay him $5 to get a picture. Just like,
I mean, after I beat somebody up, I'm trying to go to like a major chain restaurant and just have something like a bloomin' onion or something.
You should. I mean, you can go to Chili's wearing that thing. They'd be like, "Wow, you're so fit. How could you possibly be here right now?"
Burn it off. You burn it off.
I mean, I'm definitely trying to consume as much food as possible at this point.
That's a good idea. Those are brutal.
Recap. Also, I'm appreciating your Terminator shirt right now. Like, I don't know if this is a call out to like the show coming back or something, or like a subtle hint.
I don't know. There's a lot to read into things.
I'm also looking forward to having Matt back for our regular book club whenever Chris comes back from wherever the hell he is these days. So
we'll reboot the book club.
Yeah, we have to reboot book club. Okay. And in case anybody's wondering, I'm in the city in New York City only on Wednesdays. If you are around, I'm always happy to chat.
Go hang out at the NH Hotel.
I'll be there actually on the 13th. So shout out to Data Galaxy, going to do a talk at their conference. If you happen to be in New York on the 13th, they're doing that. JT will be there. I'll be there. I think Chris Tabb's there. A bunch of people are going to be there. And they have a party on the 14th. I won't be there because I'm traveling every week and got to actually see my kids once in a while. But yeah, anyway, man, it's good to see you. So
likewise. Happy to be part of the finale.
Yeah, have fun.
Take care, guys.
All right, we got another guest here. Ramona, hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, you're coming through great.
Oh, so I have the book too. Now that everybody is bringing the book, and I think I have the most original signature because the book has a third author. Joe, I shared this with you.
Oh yeah, that's so cool. My son wrote that.
So Milo contributed to the book a lot.
We should have had him do all the diagrams. I guess next time you do a book, he'll have to do all the diagrams for you.
I don't want to torture him on my next book. You could have him do it right now.
It's great to see. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Hi, Matt.
Good to meet you. Actually, I think we've mostly only communicated by message.
Yeah, you comment. I think you've been commenting religiously on every show, and you've just been end up becoming a good friend. So it's good to close it out by having you on for a bit. And yeah, it's good to see you.
So can I say something?
Yes.
Because I've been dying to say this, Matt. Okay. Why don't you have a microphone holder? Like every single time you hold the microphone in your hand.
Yeah, that's just the setup I've had. I've got one in one place where I cast from sometimes, but when I'm at Joe's, he only has the one microphone arm. So, then I'd have to lean all the way over.
Yeah, then he has to kind of it wouldn't really work like this because then he's like his head's this tight the whole time. And he's good at holding the mic. He's like a rapper. So, yeah, it's good.
So of all the things that I could have asked, that's what I asked. Excellent.
That's the one question that you were dying to.
It's you got a magical genie, and that was your wish. So there you go.
There were times when I thought that we should have a collection, fundraise something to because there were times when it felt like it's so heavy in your hand that I don't know. So. No, never mind. Thanks
it's more about mobility and not having a lot of stuff to move around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, I know I wrote that post and I want to say thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for the post.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's gonna you're gonna leave some really big shoes to fill. So we'll see. We'll have to see who are gonna fit those big shoes.
Yeah, who knows? Like we keep indicating that who knows what happens.
Yeah, exactly. So
I would say for people out there, maybe don't take this time slot, but we'll see.
Yeah. You probably have some aces in your sleeves, not short sleeves.
I wear a t-shirt. There's not much to hide.
You can't hide anything.
But it's sort of like it's sort of like the parking spot of the owner who retires from his company or something that just
might show up anytime.
He might show up still. I don't know. Yeah, but. Yeah. Anyway, cool. It was good to see you, Ramona. So
bye. Good to see you too. Bye.
Yeah. So I guess that begs the question: what's next?
Yeah. What do you have on the agenda right now?
Well, we're not doing ternary anymore, so consulting, I would say, is sort of out of the getting out of that game, at least for until I get bored and want to do it again. You know how that is. It's a cycle of boredom. You just
that's right.
But starting a new company. Which I'm not going to say too much about. You'll learn more early next year. Writing a book. Maybe these things are related. I don't know. You'll find out. There's going to do a lot more video after this book is done. Probably while I'm doing it, actually. So I think you'll see me on a lot more channels doing video, which is sort of what I'm hinting at. What does that look like? I would say stay tuned, but. Yeah, I feel like LinkedIn's great, still be on there, but there's a lot of other channels I think to explore, and I think build a good base on. So that's what I have going. It's on my mind. Plus, probably more travel. I counted even 2025 right now, and there's already 10, 11 trips already.
Oh man, I don't know how you do it.
But that's just like what we have in the docket now, right? And I mean, I'm traveling every week until almost Christmas somewhere in the world. So that's kind of what I've been doing. How about you?
Let's see. I have a new project with a friend of mine so Mark Thunison is a PhD in philosophy, and we're going to start basically talking about books, among other things. So the first book we're going to review is Nexus, which was recently published by Yuval Noah Harari. So he's most famous, I think, for Sapiens, and this book is more meant to address the current moment of rises of artificial intelligence and such. And so he actually knows what he's talking about from the philosophy perspective. So this will be interesting. Yeah. We're still figuring out details and a name and getting things recorded and figuring out how to launch it. But that's the project.
That's cool. Now. Book club sounds fun.
Yeah. So if you have books you want to talk about sometime, maybe we'll have you on and have a discussion. So that's the current thing. But yeah,
like 50 Shades of Grey or something. Yeah. Yeah, books are fun. So yeah, I like books. I don't know. I'm reviewing a lot of books right now.
Oh yeah, I know. You're reading like so many different data books at the moment.
Well, you saw my study upstairs. Yeah. So I have like about, I think 2 or 3 places, like offices in my house, and all the nooks and crannies. But one area has got just books piled on each other right now, and my office. Not this one. This is just records and stuff piled and since. But then the other office is like, I don't even know how many books are in there right now. But it's just, I think, I don't know. Charlie Munger said his wife described him as a book with legs sticking out. That's kind of how I am too. So yeah, happy to do a book club anytime, or pretend to be in a book club.
Yeah, you've read a lot of it. Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff you'd love to talk about. It's been on your reading list or you already read.
So I read a really good book, The Art of Business Value, over the weekend. I just read it on my flight back, and I thought it was really good. I have a blog post coming out about that and just the notion of business value, at least as how I see it in a rant form. Probably won't be complete. That's a rant. But I thought it was a really good book because it really described the subtleties of business value and like how it's, I think everyone tries to think that it's like ROI or cost or, cost reduction or revenue increases, which is certainly great, but there's a lot more to it than just that. So, but speaking of books, we have an unhinged friend.
Are you going to be unhinged? Is that what's
I am not promising that.
No, she's fine. Good. This is Jess Haberman. She, you signed our book. So
I did. Against my better judgment, but it worked out. It worked out all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it worked out for everybody.
It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot.
What is your general opinion on books and publishing these days?
Well, books and publishing are centuries old. They don't change that much, really. I think it's funny back in maybe the early 2000s, mid 2000s, when like ebooks were really starting to make a real, they really like kind of jumped in the market, and people just thought, oh, that's the end of print books, and like obviously that didn't happen. So it's just interesting. Like it's really hard to disrupt publishing. But there's AI has a lot of, there's a lot of opportunities for AI to make a difference in publishing in good ways and bad. So it'll be interesting. I think it's like, keep an eye out, but it's hard for me to believe that publishing is going to undergo like some major shift anytime soon. But
the thing I'm noticing though is a selection of books is becoming, I think, a bit more dodgy in the sense where you don't know what's AI crap and what's not.
Yeah.
But I think it actually opens up, and I made a post about this a few weeks ago. I think I meant literally that I think we're in the golden age of like human creativity for precisely the reasons that not a lot of people are going to be creative. So those who are, I think it means you can stand out a lot more versus the old days.
Personality-based publishing, people trust specific authors. So if you're a well-known personality like Joe or Matt or a lot of the folks that have been on this, this stream, if you're trusted in the marketplace, or you talk, you're just well-known, you talk to people, what's happening, that's going to make a big difference in terms of if you get a book deal and if people actually buy it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
That's always been the case, but I think I agree with you that that's increasing in relevance.
Oh yeah, it is. So I mean, I think it's an exciting time to write books for precisely the reason that I think it's actually going to be ironically easier to stand out amidst all the crap out there. I mean, I saw like, I mean,
on that, but I do think it's an exciting time.
It's exciting. I mean, there's books. I mean, I counted probably a dozen or more books called Fundamentals of Data Engineering on Amazon over the years. A lot of them sort of rotate out or aren't searchable anymore. But it's like,
5 fake reviews on there.
5 fake reviews. In one case, 15. Some guy who was dumb enough to use his real name. I called him out a few weeks ago. So why do this?
It's hard. It's hard to replicate like the O'Reilly, branding. The like you obviously you guys people know your names. Like so, it's like it's really a clear product that's like super unique in the market. So it's hard to sort of fake that.
Yeah, it is. But you were part of that, right? I think you get to deal with Matt and me, and for all warts and all. Yeah, you're like, oh, that was a life-changing experience.
It was. I mean, like, I miss publishing so much. I work at Anaconda, and I run education and technical writing now, and it's great. But it is. I miss publishing, so I'm doing a little side hustle, working with folks who are interested in publishing. So if we know each other, you want to talk about publishing, get in touch.
One call, that's all.
See, we're all here with new plans, exciting new possibilities.
Just pivots, right? But at the end of the year, we're all excited about it. Then come like February, I'm like, never mind, that was dumb. We'll just
No, it'll be great.
I got to get back to work in February.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Well, to that end, everybody go vote.
Yes, go vote. It's important. Yes, tomorrow is D-Day. So
awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Bye-bye. See you. I got another guy here, Sonny. Sonny. He's a good dude. What's up?
Hey, man. How are you doing?
Good.
Great to see you both.
Likewise. Yeah. Figured we say hi and bye.
Yeah, I get to be the last cameo, maybe.
I don't know. It depends how long we want to go. I mean, we don't really have anything else going on. I have a call at 11, so we could just keep this going for like forever, really.
Is this going to be a telethon? Is there?
Yeah, exactly.
Start chilling.
What we didn't tell the audience is we're actually going to be going for 24 hours.
I wanted to show you my book. This is Joe's new book. You haven't seen it yet. He sent me a super secret copy. So
it's a planner.
It says to my best friend Sonny, I couldn't have done this without you, everybody. So thank you so much, Joe. I really, really appreciate that.
Anytime. I love being there. It's like John Cena visiting kids in hospitals or something. So what are you up to these days?
So one, I'll say I love the topic on books and how valuable they are, and that it is going to be valuable. It is going to be a way to stand out. Next week, I'm in Atlanta. I'm with Serena with Serena to help her publicize her new book.
Oh, so nice.
I'll be doing a fireside chat with her. Let's see. I don't know. In about an hour, I'm doing Chris's show. Right. So
an hour? I thought it goes on like right now.
I hope not.
Well, I think it does.
Well, I better leave your show.
Better do a time zone check.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's good to see you.
Time zone check. I really think it's 1:00, but I will double check.
Oh, maybe it moved.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it moved. You figure we'd be going on for at least.
So I hope I don't miss it. Yeah, we went back and forth about that. And anyway, so that's what's going on with me. And of course, I love seeing you guys. Great material from you all the time. And I think having someone that says, look, this is how things really are, as opposed to what we would like them to be, or maybe all this icing on the cake, just really talking about the real issues is really important. So both.
Yeah, thank you. Well, awesome, man. We'll see you on the flip side, as they say. So enjoy that book. That's a good book. There's nothing in it, but it's good.
All right. Well, y'all take care. Thanks for having me on. Thanks.
Yeah, later.
Thanks for joining.
So I guess we can keep talking for a bit. I don't really care. Like I said, I only have a call in an hour, and they'll probably cut into Chris's show. So then he'll be like, "Why are you doing a show on mine?" I'm like, because we can just do that. That's what we do. Yeah, but I guess, it is interesting. I think hearing from all these people. And sorry if we didn't get to you. That it's not that we don't like you. I just went through the comments and picked the people who are immediately in front
at the
of
top of the
like
queue,
immediately like, oh, there's a chat from them and so forth. But apologies if we didn't get to you. The show would be like, well, that would be as long as a Monday morning data chat, I suppose, if we were to have like all the guests on. I think we've had almost 200 shows, but it's like, and we haven't actually, and I think the ones on Spotify, for example, it's not the complete playlist. There's actually quite a few that we didn't have on there.
Oh, they haven't actually.
So there's a couple hundred episodes we did. Obviously I have my own podcast. I don't even know how many podcasts I've done there. So, I mean, I think in total, we've probably done like thousands of shows.
I think you have, yeah.
yeah. But it's just, I don't know. So it's interesting, but, yeah, in terms of what's next, I would say, it will be fun to watch. Like, I think you got some really cool stuff in the works. Obviously I'm not really quick to reveal too much at once, but you'll see stuff at some point soon. So, but yeah, and I've also been thinking just about like how do we maintain the sense of candor that I think we've developed, but maybe in new mediums and maybe in a way that's maybe more broadly applicable too, right? I think data is a nice niche, but is there more? I don't know. That's something I've been thinking about a lot. So because I feel like the danger of having a show like this, the downside is you can easily either create a filter bubble or you can become part of one. And that's, yeah.
And then after a while, maybe it feels like everyone is saying the same thing or something like that. If you get too stuck in your own filter bubble.
Well, why did we decide to close the show? I guess maybe we can end on that. Like, I think people are wondering.
I think it's just fundamentally having other projects, basically. I think, for example, your other podcast takes up a lot of your time because you have a lot of great guests on there, and so it's like,
I think I have 4 episodes this week I got to record. Right?
That's insane.
Right, but it's like then and I think honestly, I think we've done what we needed to do with this show. There was no agenda to it in the beginning, which is kind of weird to say that you did what you needed to do. But I think we've accomplished what we wanted to with this particular show, and of course the show actually starts now. So I think we just merge the two.
They'll just take over our audience. Basically,
we'll just merge into master. It's fine. So, but I feel like this. It's better, I think, to kind of go out at the top, which I think we are in this one, versus just like letting it drone on and on and on, and just and get no. I think we'd rather just. We really, I think after Andrew Ng, having him on, we're just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, how are you gonna top that? There's obviously other guests we can do, but I felt like, at least for me, that was like the perfect note. And then having the other guests on that we've had, Paul and. And others like that, and Paco and so forth was awesome. But after that, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah. And again, you're covering, I mean, you have the opportunity to cover new developments in your other show as well. And so I think,
yeah. So anyway, cool. Well, Matt, it's been fun. See y'all, and
and we'll have to figure out that Valentine's Day with Scott Taylor. Maybe we do occasional special episodes or something like that. Something better, ideally, than like, I don't know, there must be a more recent reference for a terrible Christmas episode than Star Wars, but something along that we want to avoid that kind of debacle.
I mean, maybe we just do it live from New York City. I don't know. Might be kind of a fun one for Valentine's Day. Yeah. But anyway, thanks to everybody for supporting the show for last few years. It's been awesome. So, but there's more coming, I suppose. But you'll find out soon. So anyway, dude, it's been fun.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
All right, talk to you all later. Goodbye.